Good morning, students. So today we will be dealing with the last part of the chapter, that is central bank. Okay, so here also we will be doing the functions of the central bank and everything. So in India, which is a central bank? RBI. Okay, so Reserve Bank of India is the central bank of India. Now the central bank has been given the power to issue currency. Okay, so it has not only been given the power to issue currency, but it also regulates the money supply. It regulates the monetary and the fiscal system of the country. So it issues currency, it regulates the monetary and the fiscal system of the country, and it regulates the money supply in the economy, and it is the apex, means it is the highest authority, okay, among the banks, means all the banks have to report to RBI. So RBI is the sole custodian, it is the apex institution. Okay, so this is the central bank. Now the very first function of the central bank is, it is called the bank of issue. It is called the bank of issue. Why is it called the bank of issue? Means central bank or the Reserve Bank of India has been given the legal right to issue currency. Has been given the legal right to issue currency. So it is also called the bank of issue. Many times government also borrows money from the central bank. Many times government borrows money from the central bank whenever the government expenditure is higher than its revenue. So there is a deficit. This deficit is made up by the or corrected by the central bank, and the central government borrows money from the central bank to correct this deficit. Now against of this loans, the central government sells its securities to the RBI. Against this loan which it borrows from the RBI to correct the deficit, the central government has to sell its securities to the RBI. So what is central bank? Central bank is the apex institution which looks after the money supply in the economy. It looks after all other banks in the economy. Moreover, it looks after the monetary and the fiscal system in the economy, and it issues currency. First function of my central bank is, it is called the bank of issue, means it has been given the legal right to issue currency. Okay, and it is the liability of the central bank to issue currency. Many times the central governments falls short of funds, means its revenue becomes less of the expenditure and there is a deficit which has to be filled up, and this is filled up by the central government by borrowing from the RBI, and against this the central government has to sell its securities to the RBI. Okay, next function of the central bank is, so it acts banker to the government. How does it act banker to the government? Like the central government maintains a current account with the central bank. Okay, the central bank accepts deposits, makes payments, as well as all the exchanges are done by the central bank on behalf of the government. Moreover, the central bank also gives the second part of this function only is that the central bank also gives short-term credit to the central government. Many a times when the central government falls short of money, the central bank gives loans to the central government. Okay. Moreover, the central bank also advises the central government on the issues about money supply in the economy and various other banking and financial activities. Okay, so it acts as an advisory council also. The central bank acts as an advisory council also to the central government on the basis of money supply, financial and other banking matters. So the last subpart of this function is that the central bank also collects taxes and other payments. It also collects taxes and other payments. Like in the first part I said, it collects deposits and makes payment and other exchanges on the behalf of the government. The central bank also accepts taxes and accepts payments on behalf of the central government. So the first was bank of issue and the second is banker to the government. Next function is banker's bank. Now, how does commercial bank, the next function, that's commercial bank is acting as a banker to the commercial banks. How is commercial bank acting as a banker to the commercial bank? We have studied about CRR yesterday, cash reserve ratio. The commercial banks maintain this cash reserve ratio with the central bank. Okay. Moreover, the central bank keeps these reserves because so that if there is any settlement or clearance issue with other banks, so that it can be done from these cash reserves. If there is any settlement or clearance issue with other banks, so that it can be done from these cash reserves. Moreover, it acts as a lender of last resort. Central bank acts as a lender of last resort to commercial banks. Means what? It is acting as a lender of last resort. Sometimes the commercial banks may also want loans. So the central banks extends cheap loans or it extends loans to the commercial banks against approved securities. The central bank also supervises the function of the commercial banks. It gives visits to the it gives regular visits to the commercial banks. Moreover, it regulates the functioning of the commercial banks. Regulates the functioning of the commercial banks means expansion of the commercial banks, amalgamation of the amalgamation means sometimes we see that many banks together they join. Okay, so this is called amalgamation. So amalgamation of commercial banks. Okay, branch licensing, branch expansion, branch management, all these comes under the regulation of the regulatory function of the central bank on the commercial bank. Okay, and it supervises and monitors the function of the commercial banks by giving regular visit to the commercial banks. Okay, so we come to the next function of the central bank.